And we're going to start in standing. Just to be, yes, I know, it's so annoying when you've already got down on the floor. So come and find your place and stand on the floor. And just pay attention to how you're standing. And as I ask that question, where does your attention go? So I think last segment you did lots of work with scans at the start and the end of ATM lessons, but it was mostly or maybe all lying down, I think. So given that at the end of the lesson we always get up and stand and see how we feel and how it is to be in this different organisation after a lesson, it's kind of interesting to think, what are you paying attention to? How are you noticing yourself in standing? And so, does anyone have anything that they can share with the group? We're going to write down some ideas. What do you pay attention to? Weight on your feet? Yep. Yes. What draws your attention? Yep. What's in the foreground? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Shoulder tension. Okay. Yeah. For you, it's so you look for something that you often feel, that's a familiar feeling for you. That's what you check with. Is it there or not? Yeah. Anything else? Right. Where you feel the ground with your feet. Yes. Whereabouts on your feet? Yep. Whether your joints are locked. All right. Okay. So locked knees. It's a bit of the what? Okay. Well, your nose is pointed. So something about orientation. So if your nose is there, does it mean your eyes are there? Depends. How your arms are hanging, yes, and whether there's a difference. So, yeah, and something there. Your chin to chest relationship. How do you know general balance? Okay? Stacking of body parts. Mm-hmm. Horizon. What about the horizon? Okay. So that's again where you're looking, where your eyes are looking. Okay. Yep. Differences between weight bearing on one side compared to the other. What about the pelvis? The pelvis. Okay, so the pelvis in relation to other parts? Width, okay. Mm-hmm. Good. And how else if you take standing into movement, so when we come up at the end of the lesson, we stand and we feel how that is, and then often we do some other movements before we head off to walking. What sort of things do you do, and what are you finding out from doing those movements? Shifting weight from side to side? About stability, okay. Turning, right? And that gives you a sense of that central axis, is that, yeah? Okay. Okay. Okay, 2D or 3D kind of sensing of yourself, yeah. Yeah, if you're 2D, we're into it. That's right. So that's something about you, the depth and the width and, yeah, yeah, yeah. What else do you try to find out for yourself? How much of you is included in the movement? Yeah. Okay. Right. So we're getting length as well as 3Dness. Chelsea, you said something else. Uh, so as you're moving, yep, right. So we talked about eye level just standing, but then when you move around, do your eyes follow that? Yeah, up and down. Where else? Breathing. Yeah. And anything in particular about your breathing? Just, are you doing it? Is it happening? Yeah, yeah. And does your breathing change as you move? All those things. Yeah. Ease and where. Yeah. Anything else? You might swing your arms a little bit to see how they're hanging. Okay, we'll come back. Okay. And I'm just noticing how you're swinging your arms. And is anything else? Is it like swinging your arms in isolation, or is it feeling how they connect to the rest of you? Okay, so something about connecting into the space around you. Okay. All right. All right. Does that feel like enough things to notice? Do you want to add anything to that, Julie? Yes. Yes. And I guess it's gathering these bits of information and then noticing relationships between them. Yeah, connections. Whether it's tending to go more to one side. Yeah. Yes, we haven't gone into walking yet, but we could. That's another thing, I think. Yeah. All right. So now that you've got a really good sense of yourselves in standing, you can lie down on your back. And as you come to lie on your back, some of the things that you noticed when you were standing might be relevant when you're lying down as well. So see where your attention goes, what you like to scan for, what makes sense for you. And could you notice the areas of yourself at the back that connect to the floor? And see how clear these are. This back part of yourself. We get used to checking it, to noticing it at the start and the end of a lesson. And what are you finding from this now? There's some parts that you can sense really clearly at the back of yourself and some parts that are less clear. And have a sense of the length of you, the length of your torso, the length of your right arm and your left arm, your right leg and your left leg. Your sense of width across your shoulders. Do you have a different sense of your width at the front of your shoulders compared to the back of your shoulders? And if you tune into the width of your chest, what part of your chest do you notice? Is it the back or the front, through the middle, your upper chest, middle chest, lower chest? Where is it clear for you? And how clear is your right shoulder blade on the floor? And your left shoulder blade? And what can you notice differently about your right shoulder blade and your left shoulder blade? They feel like the same size, the same pressure. They feel like they're positioned a little bit differently in relation to the floor. In relation to your ribs. And then notice your breathing. How easy is it for your breath to come in and out? And do you have a sense of the parts of you that are involved in that action of breathing? As the volume increases on your in-breath and decreases on your out-breath, where in you do you sense that change? So now could you bend up your knees and have your feet standing? Find a position for your feet on the floor. And with your feet in this position, well, they don't have to stay in this position, but see how it is to lift your pelvis from the floor. So what you might want to change where you've put your feet. And do this in little nibbles. Just have a little taste of what it's like to lift your pelvis. Feel the connection of both your feet to the floor, to the ground. And how does the contact at the back of you with the floor change when your pelvis starts to lift? And do it quite a few times. But as you do this lifting, can you sense the trajectory of that movement as it tracks through the back of you? So as your pelvis lifts, your weight needs to shift onto a different part of you. And how does it do that for you? And you might find that weight travels through the center, along your spine, might travel a little bit to the right or to the left of your spine, might go on a bit of a diagonal. Each time you come back to land, let yourself land fully. And rest whenever you want to rest. This lesson can be a little demanding, so think about the ways that we talked about dealing with challenge in an ATM, what you need to do to look after yourself. This is the easy bit of the lesson. So how much of you is involved in this movement of lifting your pelvis? You're sensing your feet, your legs, your hips opening, the shifting of your pelvis, your spine all the way up. What about your head and your neck and your shoulders and your arms? What's the involvement up the top part of you? So have a little rest. Let your legs down and rest. And see, has that changed anything in the way that you're lying there, in the way that you're sensing yourself? And bend your knees up again. Stand your feet. Now this time, just listen before you do the next bit. We're going to be lifting your pelvis again. And at the same time as your pelvis lifts, your head is going to lift a little bit from the floor too. And when Feldenkrais teaches this lesson, he's adamant that your arms stay on the floor and your head lifts. But if this is going to be uncomfortable for you, or if it's going to force you to hold your breath or to lose your quality of movement, use your hands behind your head to help a little bit. So see how you go with this. We're going to again start to lift your pelvis a little bit, and at the same time, can you lift your head just a little bit and then bring your pelvis and your head back down? And notice how that is for you. And what's the direction that you lift your head? That's it. Now, if this is a struggle, and if you're finding that you're holding your breath, do bring your hands interlaced underneath your head, and you can use your arms to help you to lift the weight of your head. Your head doesn't need to lift a lot. And you might find that it's okay to lift without your arms for a little bit, and then you might need the help of your arms. But what I want you to try and do as you're lifting, if you're using your arms, is to not tighten your chest and your shoulders as your arms help your head to lift. So you still have that feeling that your width doesn't need to narrow in, you don't need to contract anything. So as you lift your pelvis and your head a little bit, can you feel where the weight shifts to at the back of you? That's it. Give yourself a rest whenever you want to. And start to lift your pelvis even higher so that your weight can start to come up towards your shoulders, up to that higher part of your rib cage at the back. And at the same time, just have your head a little bit lifted from the floor. That's it. And feel how the upper part of your rib cage, how your shoulder blades, how the thoracic spine can support your weight when your pelvis lifts high into the air. And as your head lifts, feel the lengthening at the back of your neck as your chin comes towards your chest comes towards your chin. And each time you come back down again. And then have a rest. And as you're resting, just ask yourself if this is going okay. If you're doing more than you feel comfortable doing, how can you make it easier, lighter, more comfortable, less effort? And bring your feet to standing again. Okay, so now lift your pelvis again and keep it up in the air, and lift your head and keep it off the floor as well. And if you need to use your hands and your arms to help support your head there, do that. And feel that you could, how far up towards the top of your chest can you bring your weight? So your pelvis is going to be high and your head's just a little bit lifted from the floor so that your back, the back of your neck is long, front of your neck shortens. Yeah. And can you still breathe? Yeah. So this is the challenge. Yeah. So come down for a rest whenever you want to. Help with your arms. Make sure you don't get into that tightness and that contraction of trying to achieve this. Yeah. So the next time your pelvis is high in the air and your head is up away from the floor a little bit, can you shift your weight across towards your right shoulder blade and then back to the middle? So how do you do that? Feel how you can shift your weight across towards the right and return to the middle, and do it a few times. That's it. And how do you organise to do this? How do you bring your weight to rest on your right shoulder blade or towards your right shoulder blade? What happens in the middle of you? What does your pelvis do? That's it. How flexible can your chest be to let you do this? And have a rest. And see if there's a difference now, having done that. And again, bring your legs up to standing. Have your feet in a position on the floor that allows you to lift your pelvis as easily as possible. Lift your pelvis high so that your weight comes right up towards the top of your chest at the back. And lift your head as well. So this is the tricky bit. And use your arms if you need to. Use your arms if you're straining, if you're struggling, if you're holding your breath. And again, bring your weight over towards your right shoulder blade. And once you're over there on the right, bring your weight down a little bit, down your shoulder blade, and then back up again to the middle. So we're going from high in your thoracic spine. You know, if you're really high, it'll be around T1, T2, across to your right shoulder blade, down a little bit towards the bottom of your right shoulder blade, and back up again to the middle in that arc. So you're kind of making this curve of pressure, this arc of pressure across towards your right shoulder blade, down a little bit, up again and back to the middle. And just check that you can still breathe as you do this. And how much of you is involved here? How do you make that shift? This is a part of us that is probably not used to doing a movement like this. When you talk about non-habitual movements in a lesson, this is pretty much a non-habitual movement. Have a rest. And there are lessons like this with your head resting on the floor, which afford you something different. But this is with the head lifted, adds another whole dimension of challenge, but also opportunity to find something in the organisation of your chest and the relationship between your head and your chest that's really new. So when you're ready, bring your legs to standing again. And again, lift your pelvis. Is it getting any lighter? Maybe, maybe not. So lift your pelvis. Feel how your legs and your feet give you the support of the ground, and how your upper chest also gives you the support of the ground. And lift your head, lift your pelvis, your weight is up at that upper part of your chest. And again, go across towards your right shoulder blade, down a little bit, up again, across to the upper middle part of your spine, and then go across towards the left shoulder blade. And then come back. So now we're making like this circular arc from your left shoulder, top of your left shoulder blade, up to your knobbly C7T1 area or thereabouts, if you can get there, and don't force yourself to get there. Across to your right, down your right shoulder blade a little bit, and back up through that arc. So this sort of upper arc, the very top of the back of your chest, where it connects to your neck, without struggling, without overdoing. That's it. And we're really using that feedback from the floor, that sense of connecting to the ground there. And come back down, have a rest. It's good to see some people are resting long before I say have a rest. And you could think of, some of the strategies of dealing with, of learning from lessons that are challenging. Slowing down, imagining the movement first before you do it, maybe just doing one or two actual movements, including more of you. So as you come back for your rest, is there anywhere in you that says, thank you very much for stopping? So bring your feet up again. And again, use the ground, the connection with your feet on the floor to lift your pelvis up to your upper chest, at the back, those upper ribs, and lift your head as well with your hands, with your arms, or just with those flexor muscles at the front of your neck. And feel what that does. And come across to your right shoulder blade, down a little bit. That's it. And up your right shoulder blade across at the top of your chest, across to the left shoulder blade, and go. That's it. And then come down your left and across to your right, so that we're making a full circle now. Up that right shoulder blade again to the top of your spine, across to your left, down the left, down to your ribs a little bit lower and across. We're making a whole circle around this upper part of your chest, which is a place that normally is not particularly mobile in most people. And as you do that, can you feel how many ribs are moving? Hopefully all of them. And rest whenever you need to. And that's it. So have a rest. And as you're resting, just have a sense of the back of your chest on the floor, that part that you've been kind of molding into the floor. And think of the front of your chest, your sternum, the ribs coming in to connect into your sternum, your collarbones that are connecting into the top of your sternum. And the next time you bend your knees up and lift your pelvis and start to do that same circle around the upper part of the back of your chest, could you have in your awareness the front of your chest as well? And it may be that you could even allow the front of your chest, allow your sternum to move in relation to your spine as you go to each side around the same direction that you did just before. Your head is off the floor so that your back of your neck is long, and feel how the front of your sternum can actually move a little to the side as you roll to shift your weight to the right. Your sternum can go to the right as well. As you shift your weight to the left, your sternum can go to the left, more to the left than your spine does, more to the right than your spine does. It's a weird kind of movement. But if you have this, a sense of your rib cage more like a flexible rib basket, a squishable basket, see if that helps. If that image allows a little more give in your ribs and your sternum. And let that go. Come back down to the floor and feel what's changing in your connection to the ground now. And how's your breathing now as you're resting? You're sensing it in any places that weren't so noticeable before. And somebody was talking about the image of yourself in 3D before. How are you going with your 3D image as you're lying here? So bend your knees up again, stand your feet. Lift your pelvis high in the air, as high as it comfortably goes. And lift your head as well, with your arms or without your arms. And this time, can you shift your weight across to the left shoulder blade and stay over to the left and roll a little bit down your left and up, a little bit up and down along that left shoulder blade. And as you're doing that, what does your sternum do? What do your ribs do? What do your collarbones do? Your chest is up towards your chin, your chin's down towards your chest, and this fairly amazing movement that's possible of shifting your weight to the left and then up and down. Your pelvis helps you do that, your feet help you do that, and this flexibility of your ribs and your sternum. Great. And let that go. Come back for a rest. And bend your knees up again. And remember, you can take longer rests. You can do the same thing. Pelvis is lifting, your head is lifting. We're up in that upper area of your upper chest at the back and going towards the left shoulder blade, up and down along that left shoulder blade. And then once you've found that the weight can go easily onto that left shoulder blade, come up again to your upper thoracic spine in the middle, across to the right shoulder blade and back down your left shoulder blade. So it's an arc over the top, but you're coming a little further down the left than down the right. That's it. And feel how your shoulders allow you to do this as well. You have a sense of your eyes. And have a little rest again. And as you're resting, you could imagine yourself completing that circle in that direction now. So going from your left shoulder blade up across your upper thoracic spine, across to your right and down, around, across your lower ribs, and up that left shoulder blade again. So each time you come up, your legs and your feet are kind of driving that action through your pelvis. And as you imagine that, can you also imagine a very flexible chest where your sternum can move easily up, down, left, right? And in fact, as you're lying there, you could bring your hands with the fingers of one hand or both hands to your sternum, and just feel how it could move a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right just as you're lying there. What does it take for that to move? You feel how your weight shifts on the floor even while you're just lying, and that your thoracic spine stays on the floor, but your sternum can move a little to the right and to the left in relation to that back part of you, if your ribs are soft enough. And as your sternum moves, your collarbones are going to move as well, which means your shoulder girdle. That's it. So now with that maybe a little bit clearer idea of the movement of your sternum, can you bend your knees up, stand your feet, lift your pelvis high into the air, if that's okay for you? And knowing that you don't have to do everything in an ATM lesson to benefit from doing an ATM lesson. So your head lifts and you're up on that upper part of your chest, and you're coming to up the left side of your shoulder, up the side of your left shoulder blade, across the middle, down on the right shoulder blade, across the lower part of your rib cage, and continue to make circles there, feeling that your feet and your legs, your hip joints, your pelvis, every part of you. And do you have a sense of that mobile sternum at the front of you now? Sense that your sternum can move to the right and the left. It can move up and down. And that you could still breathe. You can still be comfortable. And let that go. And just check how you're sensing yourself now. How clearly is the back of your chest coming into focus, your shoulder blades. The back of your head, the back of your chest, the back of your pelvis. And when we come up again, with your feet standing, lifting your pelvis, that the relationship between those sort of those parts of your trunk, your pelvis, your chest and your head, as you do just whichever direction circle you want to make at the top of your chest now. So when you're ready, bend your knees up, stand your feet, lift your pelvis, lift your head, and just do some light, soft, easy, slow circles around that upper part. Feeling the mobility and the connection all the way through. As your pelvis moves in its own circle that somehow is related to the circle that's happening at the top of your chest, at the back and the front. And how do your shoulders move to allow this? And do you find that one shoulder moves more than the other? Do you find that one, as you're coming across at the bottom part of the circle, that you're shifting across at a different level on the right compared to the left, that a different rib is supporting your weight at the bottom of that circle. And have another little rest. And how are you feeling? What are you noticing in yourself? How's that three-dimensional image of yourself changing? As you allow your breath to come in and out easily. Where does the volume change? Is it just one part of you? Do you sense that volume shifting through all of you? And when you're ready, if you're ready, you can do one more little sets of circles in the other direction to what you did last time. And see, is there a difference when you go in this direction? Is there a reason you chose the other direction first? And you can do a few circles this way. You can let yourself down for a bit. You can do a few circles the other way. And how do you allow yourself lightness, softness, ease, flexibility, this length through the back of your neck, length through your belly, the front of you and the back of you are long and moving, every part of you. And finally, come down, rest again for the last time when you've had enough. Yeah. And again, notice anything that draws your attention now. Wherever your attention went to the first time when you lay on your back, is this part of you still drawing your attention? Or has something changed? Is it easier to sense all of you in one go? How much of you is resting on the floor now? And how clear is the image of the back of your chest, your shoulder blades, the front of your chest, the movement of your breathing? And in your own time, can you roll yourself to your side and come up to standing? And as you do that, feel how much of you can be aware of in this transition, up to sitting, up to standing. And just take your time. And when you finally do come to the upright position, give yourself time to scan yourself there in scanning. in standing, scanning in standing. And how much of you do you sense now? The things that you were noticing that we wrote on the board before, are you noticing differences between the start and the end of the lesson? And are there other things now, other ways of sensing yourself that you might want to add to the list? Things, and you don't need to say it, stay with your sensation. But is there once you've done a lesson like this, is there something else that draws your attention, that you notice a change in? So could you particularly notice, and I'll direct you now, the relationship between your head and your chest? A lot of this lesson was this moving your rib cage in relation to your head and your pelvis. So does anything feel different, feel noticeable there for you now? And you could turn, feel what it's like to turn. What's the axis of that rotation like? Are your eyes in the idea of turning? Slow it down so you can feel it. That's it. And when you're ready, you can start to walk around a little bit. And as you're walking, what do you notice? What draws your attention? And is it possible to look around a little bit as you walk? For your head to be free as you walk? And then just stop wherever you are, just with your legs just standing again, and just do a little turn to the right and the left, just with your head this time. And feel how easy is it for your head to turn. Is there a smoothness in that turning of your head in relation to your chest? And then expand that to turn the rest of you. That's it. And then walk a little bit more. And see again, as you're walking, how easy is it to look a little around you. So your head is free to move in relation to your chest and your pelvis.
So keep walking. And I'm just going to finish the day by reading something out that a friend of mine, keep walking, take this in as you're walking. A friend of mine wrote about learning attention and awareness. So, this may seem too basic to define, but in the space of 1 century, we moved of thinking of learning as the province of mammals to understanding that single-cell organisms, plants, and even machinery can be said to learn. We now know our nervous systems are massive, ongoing learning networks, but like evolution, they have no hierarchical bias, no good or bad compass. Our human systems can learn many things that hinder rather than help, and it is only with the aid of attention and awareness that we can unravel the differences. Most human learning takes place under the spotlight of attention. That moment when we discern difference between two seemingly similar things. Babies have huge abilities to attend to their internal and external environments. Unlike learning, attention is hierarchical. The greater the stimulus, the more attention it receives. It takes significant learning on our parts to shift attention, to block, expand, or focus attention. The mark of a maturing system is the ability to control attention in this way. At maturity, we can notice the chaos of traffic and jackhammers outside the window, then narrow our attention onto a document in our hands, excluding all else. Awareness is the state in which we can direct attention, assess the information it provides, and make choices. For example, in an aware state, we can be conscious of the chaotic noises outside the window, simultaneously notice an internal rising irritation, and we can choose to let the irritation build or find a different response. Awareness helps us expand knowledge of ourselves, our reactions, their meaning, and their consequences. It is very possible to live a conscious life with only very rare sparks of awareness. It is not possible to achieve our greatest potential without awareness because it is at the heart of self-creation. Awareness evolves after a long apprenticeship in controlling attention. So I will leave you with that thought for the day, and we'll see you in the morning.